Brilliant from Kennedy. Couldn't resist the shot, and it's gone in off the defender!
Determined, you lose your little player. And it's in, it's a goal from Gilmour. Jimmy Gilmour has scored for Falkirk.
Finnegan's cross, Stephen Thompson! Falkirk have the lead after a quarter of an hour.
McKenzie slips, it goes straight to McGuffey. McGuffey shoots from his own half, and that is incredible!
He's taking them all on here. Catch him if you can. You can't. That is amazing. That is phenomenal. A touch of individual inspiration from Kevin McAllister.
This is Falkirk Daft
with Haldane Construction Services.
Hello and welcome once again to Falkirk Daft, and we are top of the league. Said we are top of the league. Hello, I'm your host John McAnally, and as ever, joined by the ginger god of pod himself, Mr. Ross Wayne.
Good evening, Mr. John McAnally. How are we today?
I am good, thank you. Were you hung over after Edinburgh yesterday? I see there was a lot of pints consumed.
No hangover. A little bit sunburnt at the old top of the head.
Oh yeah, can see that.
It was 21, 22 degrees in finest Edinburgh yesterday, and did any of us preempt the sun? No, we didn't. However, wee Jo, who was there with us as well, she actually had some sun cream. So at half time yesterday, there was about 3 or 4 of us actually putting sun cream on because it was that hot.
Gotta love wee Jo, always prepared. She's always got the sweeties, always got something in her bag of magic. You know, this is why you can trust in women. Men are terrible. We go unprepared for anything. You know, there was an occasion one of our close friends, Fraser Bloy, when we were in that Oak of You season, turned up and it was absolutely pissing it down, and he just turned up in a t-shirt. Women wouldn't do that. Women are always prepared for these situations. So shout out to Joe and saving Ross and his ginger bonds from getting completely burnt at the football.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was appreciated. And going back to Fraser, was there not one time that he it was like it was fine before the game and then it was like a snow blizzard during, yes, and then he had like a denim jacket on us?
Yeah,
that's all he had.
Yeah, exactly. Unprepared people going to football. We've got to sort that out. And obviously you probably got burnt quite a bit standing in the queues to get into the game. Yes,
well, I know we'll talk about that shortly. That it was a whole new level of brutal from Edinburgh City, even worse than last year, actually, if that was possible. So yeah, but we'll talk about that. I know.
Yeah. God say, obviously. Big thanks to our sponsors, Haldane Construction. You might have seen, actually, Ross, that they put the Haldane Construction logo up on the North Stand now, at the side of the North Stand.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So it just shows again how much Peter and the guys at Haldane are really, really kind of getting knee deep into the football club.
Absolutely. Peter and his wife are completely bought into Falkirk and they're putting loads of money into the club. So, and to this podcast as well. So thank Peter. He's actually going to join us. We're doing a wee hospitality day and Peter's going to join us for that. So thanks very much for Peter for sponsoring. And you know, you can stay connected with Haldane Construction on the social media channels. You'll get regular news and updates, including project highlights, behind the scenes glimpses. You might see him build a swimming pool. You never know. Follow them to be part of the growing community and witness the innovation and craftsmanship that defines them. You'll get them at all the usual places on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook. Or if you want to head to their website, haldaneconstruction.co.uk, or email them, info@haldaneconstruction.co.uk. They'll help you with new builds, extensions, the full shebang. So thanks to Peter and the team at Haldane for sponsoring this podcast. Moving on, a couple of bits and bobs. Shout out first of all to the Falkirk women. One beat Steny 3-0 today on a derby.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and I think that's what's a good weekend all in for the Falkirk teams then.
Yeah, absolutely. The women are off to a good start this season as well. I mean, they came so close last season. You just hope we can just do one better again this season and just get that promotion. But yeah, 3-0. Gilbert, Bridges and McLeod with the goals. And a big victory over that mob from Steny.
Shout out to Ian Snedden, who not only photographs the first team and all the youth teams as well. He goes along religiously to the women's games, and you can see if you follow him on Twitter or probably more so on Twitter, he shares pictures of the girls' games as well. So absolutely fantastic. Big shout out to Ian and everybody for what they're doing there, because it sounds like they're going from strength to strength every season.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great to see the women doing so well as well. We need to actually get one of the girls on the podcast and have a chat with them about it. So we'll reach out into the team and see if anyone's up for coming on the pod, adding a bit of glamour to me and Ross. That would be quite nice. We were talking last week about David Dickinson, Ross.
Yeah, so obviously there was the ref, David Dickinson, that came up in conversation, wasn't it? And then we remembered about a David Dickinson cardboard cutout that the shuttle bus used to have in the noughties. So, it was great. We got a Pete, who's been a guest pundit on a couple of times before. He had shared the picture of them. I don't know what ground it was. Peter maybe need to reach out and let us know what the ground was. I don't know if it was maybe Aki's or Clyde or something like that. But yeah, they're there with their David Dickinson cardboard cut out, and it looked like they all had David Dickinson pictures on their t-shirts as well. So, I just absolutely love that. However, it wasn't the only thing we were sent in this week. So as everyone will know that watched last week's podcast, you were in the studio because it was. We were recording on a different day, so you were at work, and we got a message from Dell, regular listener on Twitter, and said that you were giving off a Oasis 1996 vibe last week with your microphone. So we did. We found a picture of Liam from 1996 with the exact same microphone. So you definitely were giving it big legs.
I'll take that. I'll absolutely take if being compared to Liam Gallagher, Falkirk Daft. I'll have that and run with that. Thanks for everyone getting in touch. If you want to get in touch with us, you get us at all the usual social channels. Best hit us up on Twitter, actually, at Falkirk Daft. Loan signing, and since we last spoke, we didn't think there was any deals. We've been crying out for a right back since the start of the season and the departure of Mr. Williamson, and we got one delivered.
We did, yeah. So it was a little bit unexpected, although we now know how they were able to do that. So we'll talk about the FSS meeting on Friday night. But yeah, so they've managed to find funds available to get a loan signing in, as you say, for a mythical right back. Who knows? Will he start? Obviously, he didn't come straight into the side on Saturday. Finn had another very, very good game on Saturday, so I don't see him being dislodged anytime soon. That said, obviously, we did have to move some players about on Saturday because Leon McCann took a bit of a dead leg, so Liam Pirlo Henderson got moved into left back. We then had Finn going into midfield, and obviously Leighton it went in at right full back. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does. Obviously, I think he was Peterhead the latter half of last season. Granted, they went down. However, as John McGlynn said, I think he said in his preview of the game on Saturday, he's obviously used to first team football, so which is a good thing for us. So let's see how he does while he's here for the season.
Yeah, no. So Leighton. I mean, where are the Johns coming from? And the Billies and the Roberts and the Richard. We've got a Leighton now on the team, but hopefully McCann's injury not so bad, because obviously Mackie's still out injured as well, and that's another position that we'll struggle with at left back. I can't see Big Hendo, even though he's Pirlo. And shout out to his dad, by the way, Willie, who got in touch.
He got in touch as well, didn't he?
Who got in touch with his dad. So shout out to Willie Henderson, who got in touch after my referring to his son as Pirlo, which we of course he is. So left back. If Mackie's injured and McCann's injured, that's a bit of a worry there.
Well, it sounds like a dead leg, so hopefully it's nothing too bad. But if it is the case, though, we're going to have to play Henderson at left back, and
or one of the young boys.
If there is one, I don't know if there is a left back, or I don't know if one of the young lads can play left back, but you never know. But yeah, it would be a shame because Henderson is definitely making like the right moves in midfield, and so it'd be a shame to have to move on. But we do have cover in midfield, so if he can play left back for a game or two, or he had to, then I don't think we'd be too far away.
Yeah, talk for young lads. Actually, Pierce Carroll left the club this week as well. It was mutual agreement between Pierce and the club. I don't know what. It's just been a shame. I mean, I remember, we're about to talk about Edinburgh. He came on against and set up that goal, and I believe he came through Tam McManus's academy. There's certainly big hopes placed on Pearce. I don't know what has happened there. It's just a shame that he's not. I know he had some personal issues, but it's just a shame that he's not been able to kick on at the club. And all the best to the lad,
100%. Every time I saw him, certainly, I always thought, oh, there's a player there between his passing range. Not the biggest lad in the world, maybe, but then, like, we know John McGlynn likes a 6 foot plus.
Yes.
Actually, that sounds weird, doesn't it? John McGlynn likes a 6 foot plus man, but
he loves a 6 foot plus man. Does John McGlynn? Quote that.
He prefers his men large, but no. I think if you've got obviously Leon McCann, who's doing amazing, and Finn Yates is not the tallest either, actually. So it may well have nothing to do with his stature or his physique or anything like that. But as you say, best of luck to him, because there is a footballer there. I just hope, in the nicest sense, he's not signing for someone in our league.
Yes, and he comes back to haunt us, because that tends to happen with Falkirk. You'll have noticed. Pitch update. We got an update on the pitch and the condition of the pitch and what's going on. The club put out a statement. I was like, did anybody ask a question here?
Well, that was my thinking. So, see, when I read it, it was a very informative article, by the way. It was a very, very informative article. But has someone actually messaged the club and said, I'd like to know the tender process as to how you came about picking the pitch provider and all this kind of stuff. So, but then there was a request if anyone wanted to know about the floodlights, and I saw the first tweet back to the club was, yes, I'd love to hear about the floodlights.
Oh, please tell us about the floodlights. Remember, I mean, obviously against Stirling, it was like it was the first time they'd really operated the floodlights, and it was like really you turned to me and went, it's pretty dark in the front there, isn't it? And I said, I don't know, is it? And then suddenly it was like someone had switched on the dimmer switch and worked like, oh, you're right, you just push this wee knob around and it turns them up, and then the lights suddenly came into a big roar from the crowd.
The question I've got about the floodlights, and this is a really, really...
All right, put it to the club, they'll put out a statement about it.
They might be listening, but I'll ask the question and they might come back to us. I had read online, and this could just be someone absolutely taking the absolute pee, is that the ones that the new ones they've put in, which is the one on the west stand, they're obviously LED, right? But someone had said, are these the ones that like flash and change colour and all this kind of... Surely Falkirk's not put in flashing LED lights in the stadium. Like, surely not. I'll ask a question. I'll put it as an open question out there. Do we have fancy flashing?
Can we have a disco like they have at Celtic Park is what we want to know.
See, speaking of that, because I nearly said the P word, I got accosted in Stirling last week.
What did you get accosted?
So it's down to you. Unfortunately, I didn't ask her name. I should have done. So I was shopping in Stirling, and a lady walked past me and she went, Ross Wayne. And I was like, oh, hi. Didn't know who it was. And she said, I listened to the podcast. Me and her husband listened to the podcast. So I was like, oh, fantastic. She went, however, I've got a gripe.
Oh, no.
There's too much swearing. And I went, oh, well, there's a little bit. She went, no, you're okay. It's John.
Oh, what?
Yeah, she was having a go at you. So you have to watch your language.
Maybe it was remember I got done for this as well, because it was maybe the wife of that guy who said, oh, you swear too much and my wife doesn't like it. Maybe it was her.
Could well be.
Maybe it was.
But yeah, I was getting a row on your behalf. So
God, right. I will try and I'll start using like words like, when you're a parent and have to use fiddlesticks. When I'll start using like substitute swear words, right, and see how that goes. All right. So, all right, we'll try.
There's the title of this week's podcast. There is it, fiddlesticks.
Yeah. Sugar. Oh, drat. So I'll start doing that now. Right, okay, let's get into the FSS meeting on Friday night. I have to say, I didn't make it along. Ross, you didn't make it along, and we were so hypocritical because we sat in this podcast a couple weeks ago. Everyone needs to get along, blah blah blah, and then none of us made it.
We didn't know. However, it sounds like there was a good turnout, which was brilliant. Obviously, it was open to every single FSS member, which is, I think, going by our last podcast live, was 723 is the total now, or it was. So even if a couple of hundred turned up, which I hope there was, it would have been worthwhile. But yeah, because we couldn't get along, and we knew there would be some chat about it on social media, and there was quite a few people that were there had kind of put a bit of a summary up. You were never really going to get a full picture. So I reached out to the FSS and the club to get a bit of an update as to what was said.
So let's hand over to a roving reporter from the FSS meeting. He's done all his research. It is Mr. Ross Wayne.
Thank you for that. Back in the studio. So the information that I'm about to give. So this is the caveat. So the information I'm about to give is from the board of Falkirk Football Club and the Falkirk Sports Society Committee, following a request by ourselves for a summary of Friday's meeting for those who were unable to attend. So there was obviously going to be a large number who were members or not members who are not going to hear the update that is given. So on Friday evening, and I'll go through this, and I'm sure there'll be questions, John. So hopefully I'll be able to answer, but if I can't, I'm sure the FSS or the club will come out to back out to us as well. So in terms of on Friday evening, what was shared with the members that were there. So I'll read this out just so I'm not kind of getting anything wrong. So there's been some misunderstanding on social media that the long-term plan was for FSS to buy 25% plus one share. That was never the case originally. So the original plan, as was explained at the last AGM, was that they would buy 21% of shares. The detail number behind that was that they had over 90,000 shares that they had prior to December 2021, plus the 1 million shares that were ring-fenced for the FSS. So just under 1.1 million shares, which is approximately 20.8% of the shareholding. You'll be glad to know that's the only time that I'm referencing money, right? So the plan was always to get that up to 25% plus one share. However, would be done so by persuading current small shareholders to transfer shares into the FSS directly or proxy their vote to the FSS, which means people can retain their shares in their own name if they wish, but they just simply proxy their vote to the FSS to use for any club-related voting. Now, the FSS and the club have let us know that there's about 800 small shareholders who hold not insignificant 480,000 shares, which is roughly about 9%, okay?
So calculators are out, people.
For those that are following this. So the Falkirk Football Club board, however, decided to sell extra shares to the FSS, and these came out of the other 1 million shares that were ring-fenced for the patrons group. Now, the Scottish Government loan obviously happened, which was brilliant. Now, that application increased from £300,000 to £350,000. Now, that extra £50,000 meant an extra 125,000 shares for the supporter society from the patrons group allowance. Now, the loan took 3 months longer than anticipated, so the club also honoured a further 60,000 shares in that time frame, again from the patrons group's allowance of shares. So in total then, the FSS have had an extra 185,000 shares more than originally planned, and all of them came from the patrons group ring-fenced allowance. Now, with that being the case, the club board could not allow FSS to have the last remaining 60,000 shares because they were already ring-fenced for the patrons group, and the FSS money was already included into the football budget as per the partnership agreement signed between the FSS and the football club.
Question: why could the board not allow the FSS to have the last remaining 60,000 shares when they'd already allowed all these extra shares to be given over?
It's a good question, John, and it is answered, I promise.
Excellent, there we go.
Because we are now officially in the press release gang of the club, I think. So I've lost my train of thought there, John. So the outcome of doing that meant that by selling them via the patrons group, the club have brought in roughly about £24,000 extra money that wouldn't otherwise have had. And that's enabled the club to sign Leighton Bisland, who we've just talked about, and potentially to sign one or possibly two more loan players. Right. Had the club not done that, we wouldn't have signed anyone at all. Now, the Falkirk Football Club directors, have a duty to always act in the best interests of the club, And this was a unanimous board decision, including the two FSS directors at the time. Now, FSS committee and the Falkirk Football Club board are fully behind the actions and are 100% together in the plan moving forward. The message on Friday was simple. Everyone needs to move forward together, and the club and the FSS are working well together in partnership. Now, the FSS currently have 24.3% of shares due to the extra 3.5% sold to them out of the patrons group allowance. Nobody on the patrons group had any issue with doing that. And indeed, 14 patrons, so this is the big bit of the news, and indeed 14 patrons plus one other fan has donated over 38,000 shares to get the FSS to the 25% plus one share goal. In the words, this is a joint statement from the committee of the FSS and the club. So this is an incredible gesture and a strong sign of unity between all of the fans. This is fan ownership in the truest sense of the word.
Right. Okay. So reading all between the lines, we've got to 25%. So that's now fine. Again, just the issue is, why is this not all being communicated? And this is the problem that we've had. We're reading this, and that's only because you reached out, Ross, right? This should have been communicated by the club and by the FSS, right? I think obviously there has been a bit of communication breakdown, but then you understand, because all these guys working at the FSS and I guess the board of directors are all voluntary doing it really as well. So finding the time to do this sort of stuff, but there needs to be better communication, doesn't there? Because it's all been stoked into a big fire, and everything you've read in Pie and Bovril and everything. We've got an outcome now to it, which is great, right? But, questions get asked. Like the questions we've been asking on this podcast is, why are the board not giving this extra, percent over to the FSS? When there's shares on the table, why is this not being getting sold to the FSS?
What I've taken from all of that, John, and you hit the nail on the head just there now, right? And obviously the joint statement that's been given to us that was shared on Friday night to the members as well, is that there has been misinformation out in the public domain, right? Now, it's not really, we're never going to know personally as to whether this is something that the FSS should have shared. In my opinion, it probably is, because they signed the agreement with the club. I don't think the club.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people were under the impression, and don't maybe stop me if I'm getting this wrong, but when they put their money to the FSS, there was never any indication that there'll be a stop point. Do you know what I mean? I mean, the money's obviously came a lot faster than we expected to, and maybe if it hadn't, there would have been something saying, listen, once we get to this number, we can't get any more. But I don't think that's ever been communicated. I think we all put into the FSS thinking, oh, it'll just keep going.
I think it probably has taken. Well, listen, the government loan has been amazing, right?
Yeah,
it couldn't have come at a better time for not just the FSS but the club as well.
Yeah.
So it probably has, and it's hard, John, because obviously as someone who's been on the support of the committee and been helping the committee before, it is tough because you are doing it in your own time, just as you said about the board of the club as well. None of them are paid employees to be there. Yeah. So it is tough, and they won't get everything right. And I'm sure there were some questions, not that obviously, as we both said, we weren't there. So I'm sure there probably were some questions around communication and seeking thoughts and feelings from the membership. But the other thing we need to remember as well, and I know everybody's probably bored to death with the topic, but we've got some answers there, which is great. The other issue is the government loan was obviously, it had to be to an extent a little bit cloak and dagger, and that wasn't really just on the club and the FSS. That would have been the government as well, because we were the guinea pigs. No one else had got this before, so it's not as if they could have come out and said, oh, by the way, we've applied for this, the government loan that X got last year, because it's never been done. So I think I'm sure there's lessons being learned from all parties. But the big news is that they have now reached that goal. The question will obviously still carry on as to future subscriptions, in terms of, and I'm sure the Falkirk fans will continue to do what they always have been. Personally, and I can only speak for me, is when I do something for the football club, I don't tend to think, what am I going to get out of it? I tend to think of, I'm just supporting the football club. And I know everybody's not the same, right? Whether it be hospitality, buying a ticket for the game or a shirt or whatever. And I just think we, as they said in that statement, and I'm sure this was the message on Friday night, we are the club. We all are now. There's no millionaire or someone who thinks they're a millionaire out there. It's us. So we just need to look after it the best we can.
Yeah. I guess now, was there anything mentioned about, I don't know if the Forever Falkirk Fund, because I'm guessing that's just getting scrapped now, because effectively now I'm guessing, now we've reached the target of the FSS, the FSS is now basically a donation to the club and the playing budget. Was there any indication, I don't know if you know, Ross, of where the future monies donated to the FSS or going into the FSS are going to go? Is there a promise of, I guess, putting that against any money that we get, putting, if there's any further shares, that would be taken into account of the money that's getting handed over? Or is this now just the money goes directly into player budgets?
From the reading of what we've had, John, the partnership agreement that's in place is that the supporter society, as it does, how do we look last week? Obviously, you've got Hearts, Motherwell, St Mirren, these type of guys. When the shareholding was purchased or when the club was bought, they essentially are the part running of the club. So they help build the budget. So as far as I can read from that press release and the agreement that's in place, then yes, the money will go towards John McGlynn's playing budget every single week. That's what I've taken from it, which is not a bad thing, because we obviously need a good budget, especially if we go up. We'd need an even better budget. Yeah. So
yeah, well, that's good to know. I mean, what I would say as well is there's one place left. There's the FSS director role. Any indication on who's stepping into that, or?
But so the window's open. I don't have the dates in front of me, but I know they had to reopen it. I think, and this is I know we talked about this privately as well. I think the FSS and the club, I suppose, they could help package what they're looking for now. It's changed. I think 6 to 9 months ago, they were talking about how they needed people with particular skills. They needed them to have 20 hours, up to 20 hours a week. The club is in a far, far better place off the field now. So I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think that's necessarily the criteria now. But what it does need is it needs someone in there to help Nigel and to help the rest of the committee, because we can't have, and this is again my personal opinion, we can't have a body owning such a large percentage of the football club, and for no one to be I don't want to say keen enough, but for someone to step forward, whether it's from the committee themselves or from the wider fan base in the membership, we need 2 strong people in there to help the rest of the board.
I would fully agree with that. And what I would say as well, now Nigel, I don't know Nigel. Nigel's a patron, though, as well as being an FSS. What I think needs to happen is someone out with the patron group who might be also a contributor to the FSS to stand up and get into that boardroom and ask the questions from the supporters, because we know Nigel, as a patron, is probably friendly and pals with the rest of the board members, as you would suspect. So it would be great to have someone from the FSS. I mean, I'd love to do it, but I've not got time in my life to deal with that. But someone that's got some hours in the time, but can take, the supporters' point of view to...
Yeah, no, listen, John, I don't disagree. I genuinely don't disagree. I think it needs somebody good in there. I'm really hoping that this process identifies not just one, but maybe a couple of people who could be involved. I think one point to remember is all of the boards, yes, the existing boards, as you say, are in the patrons group, they are all members of the FSS as well. We have to remember that. So this is what we're talking about. This is the fan ownership thing. We're all, whether somebody puts £1 in every month or whether somebody puts £100 in every month, we're all going towards the same thing. So, but I don't disagree. I think in an ideal world, you probably would have...
I think it needs an outside voice is what I'm saying, Ross. I think it there needs to be in somewhere who's not part of that group and is an outside voice that can take the views of the supporters from the terraces into the boardroom. I really think that's really important. So I really hope there is someone out there who, and would step up to that plate, because I think it would be really important to have that. And we might not get into this social media pie and bovril forum situation which has happened over the last couple of weeks. So that's my thoughts on it. I wish I could do it myself, but there's absolutely no chance with families and about 100 radio shows to do. Anyway, right, let's move on to lighter things and talk about competitions. We've got competition. We're looking for our 1,876 Twitter member. When we get that, you get captain's armband and an amazing print from Slap the Bass Designs. They've done some amazing stuff. You can check them, ec.com/slapping the bass. Slapping, SLAPPIN, da, DA, bass, BASS designs. So you'll get them and you can check them out on Instagram. Just type in Slapping the Bass. So we've got 2 giveaways. Like I say, we've got that one for the captain's armband for the 18764s. And what else have we got, Ross? We're going to do one on social media as well, is that right?
Yeah, so we've got, as you said, John, we've got the captain's armband. So, and it won't be just for the 1,876 member. We'll do we'll get your Ukrainian girls number generator up, and we'll pick someone at random. But yes,
let's clarify, if people haven't heard this episode, we're not going to get a Ukrainian girl in to pick the number. It was just so happens that in the number generator that I was looking at, there was some sort of advert for Ukrainian girls. Right, just clarify that.
I'll take the clarification, but
Thank you. Right.
But yeah, no, there's the captain's armband, plus we've got the Bravo Tunnel artwork, as you mentioned, from the guys at Slapping the Bass, and it's 2 sets. We've got an A4 set and an A5, so all to play for, indeed.
Keep an eye on the Twitter for that. Okay, let's talk Edinburgh then, and it wouldn't be Folk without having a guest pundit. We've missed this guy on the comms, haven't we? The dulcet tone. I know you're out there are going, I wish I could hear Lewis Connelly's voice again. Let's hear him, shall we? Please welcome to Falkirk Daft, Mr. Lewis Connelly.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Nice to be back.
Oh, it's lovely to hear your voice again, Lewis. Honestly, women of Falkirk out there have been waiting for this moment for a long time.
Mate, £10 a go, I'll come round and read you a bedtime story if you want. It's no problem.
I would love to make that happen. Yes, I'd love. Lewis, how are you? You all right?
I'm good. It's enjoying it. Good weekend so far, both socially and on the football front. So I'm all good, mate. You?
Are you enjoying just being back at games? Because you did Falkirk TV for so long. Are you enjoying just going along now as a supporter and just enjoying the day out now?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's always bits you'll miss having done it for so long. So I think the bit I miss the most is the kind of post-match interview side of things with my stunt double John and the players and stuff. But in terms of it, I certainly don't miss going 3 hours early to a game to Capello or wherever with your fingers freezing, lugging car batteries and boxes to do setup. And I'm actually not missing the commentary. I thought I would. As Ross will tell you, I just stand beside him with a toy microphone and commentate, and it's keeping it going.
I can imagine. Oh, Jesus. So you boys went to Edinburgh yesterday. I am guessing because Ross does not stray from the usual. He doesn't like to try new things. I'm guessing he's ended up at the Artisan.
Always. Had to be done. It's a staple.
You're just a man of habit, Ross Wayne. Honestly, like, I was meant to be going to Edinburgh. I didn't make it in the end. And I said, let's go to the Black Bull. Black Bull, great pints, fantastic tunes, wee pool table, and you were having none of it. So you end up in the Artisan.
As always.
Has to be done. It was really busy yesterday as well. It was good.
Yeah, it was good. Always good.
There you go. I knew you would end up there. So, beer aside, what a decent match. Edinburgh 0, Falkirk 2. Agyeman and Morrison getting the goals. 2 going on 10 from what it looked like. Nesbitt was in for the injured Miller, and new signing Leighton Bisland on the bench for the Bairns. I think, any reports on Miller in terms of his injury? How far away is he?
So potentially it's a small meniscus tear. You're talking about 6 to 8 weeks.
Really?
Which I have to say, if it is a meniscus tear, actually, guys, That's not bad at all. He's kind of got off. I don't want to use the word lightly, given he's had an ACL before, but meniscus tears could be an awfully lot worse than that. So 6 weeks, I'll take that.
I mean, luckily we do have Aidan Nesbitt, obviously, that comes in and was playing that role last season. So it's not a bad replacement to have for Miller to come into that role. And then there is options then to shift round that front three as we choose. But yeah, Aidan Nesbitt came in for Calvin Miller, not coming in for a lot, about 20 minutes of the game. With the Falkirk supporters, however, I saw both of your tweets complaining about the queues outside Edinburgh. What happened?
Well, I actually tried to put some stuff down on paper, if I may just share it with you, because like sometimes it's difficult when you just rant about things, and it's only sometimes when you put stuff down on paper that you really realise the reasons why something's so bad. So I wanted to kind of share what the experience going to Meadowbank is like as an away fan. And here's what I came up with. It's shite. Right? Shite. So, now, where do we start with this one? Let's plug e-tickets for a week and a half, right? Get your ticket in advance, roll up, be all organised. Nay bother. Okay. You then open 2 turnstiles for the entire stadium. I think it maybe only has 2 turnstiles as an entire stadium. But what really compounded matters was he had one as a cash gate. Well, guess what? Nobody at it, because he'd been punting e-tickets for a week and a half, right? There was about 3 people. So we rocked up, it was round about 20 to 3, roughly.
Yeah,
so don't get me wrong, we weren't there at like 20 past 2, but equally it wasn't a turn up at 1 minute to 3 and expect to walk in moment. And yeah, so that cash gate, completely empty, nobody in it. The e-ticket gate queued round 3 sides of the block. Hundreds and hundreds of fans. It was only at 6 minutes past 3 when the stewards and the staff came up with a great idea of letting people use that other turnstile as well. And then finally, they opened the disabled gate beside the 2 turnstiles, and a guy with a hand scanner sort of started helping out as well. Right, there's teething problems there, and I get things can go wrong, but I guess my point is all those decisions, that could have been made at like 2:30. And then you wouldn't have had 450 fans queued waiting to get in. And you know, many of them missing kickoff. And then you had things like there's no actual terracing. So anybody who's there with a kid or who is not the tallest, like me, you know, if you're not in there at a reasonable time, you're not seeing the game.
See, you missed this last season, Lewis. You know, the twice we went to Edinburgh last season. And what a joy it is. What an absolute joy.
It was bad in the stand, trying to set up the cameras and stuff, I tell you. It was worse, obviously, yesterday. And I just feel sorry for mainly families, especially if you're taking kids along. And from what I could see around us, people were good that if they realised folk were there with youngsters, they would let them kind of filter through to the front, as you do. But it's a terrible view. There's no cover. You're going to get soaked if the heavens open. It's a crap view. There's no atmosphere, and you can't get in. Apart from that, wonderful. But in summary, Tripadvisor, 1 star, shite. Right? There you go.
Well, 800 Falkirk supporters in there for the game. And it again, I mean, looking back from the highlights, boys, it looked like, again, we've just been on such that role of just creating so many chances. And again, if it hadn't been for their goalkeeper, if it hadn't been for the post, it could have been any number, Ross.
Yeah, it definitely could, John. I think the stats said something like 28 shots with 12 on target. And genuinely, if it wasn't for the post and the keeper, as you said, it would have been an absolute cricket score yesterday. And no more than we deserved. Like, genuinely, and I know what we've started brightly this season, and we're all happy and we're all confident, but we're not just kind of blowing smoke up our own arses. We genuinely could have absolutely thumped them yesterday. I fear for Edinburgh this season. I think they look worse than Peterhead.
Really?
Yeah, no, generally at this stage anyway, unless they make signings or change what they're doing, but they're shipping goals. And it wasn't a shock that we kind of posted them aside yesterday. It should have been more.
I mean, early warning signs were there straight away, Lewis, when we saw Callum Morrison absolutely skin 3 guys, and then you just wanted that to go in because it would have been a beautiful goal, but just beaten by the post.
Yeah, I mean, great opportunity earlier on, and Cal doing what Cal does. You know, he's so direct with his running, and that's what the Falkirk fans love. I think there was various early chances, and as Ross says, you know, that really could have been a hefty one yesterday. Edinburgh really need reinforcements, because the only negative, if you're one of these people who was really looking for one, is that they had 2 chances in the second half. They had one, they hit the post, and there was one, I think it was a confusion in defence, and the guy put one a header wide. Apart from those 2 chances, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Ross, I can't think of any other attempt they had on our goal at all. But the only issue would have been is, had you lost a goal to one of those 2 opportunities, you would have then potentially had a nervous last 10, 15 minutes. Whereas out of these other, you know, we had at least 8 or 9 really clear-cut chances. I'm not saying 8 of them, but if you'd taken 1 or even 2 of them and you're 3 or 4-0 up, losing a late goal wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
I mean, we are still the top scorers in Scotland in terms of the amount of goals we've got, you know. And again, it's credit to that front 3, Agyeman, Morrison and McKeever. I mean, the big surprise that Ross McKeever didn't get a goal yesterday. He had that early chance with the header, but and there was a couple other chances, but just the operating so well together. I mean, we've all talked about the absolute enigma and maverick that is Alfie Agyeman. How did he play yesterday? Got a great goal, but overall, what did you make of him?
I thought he was. I thought he was genuine. I thought he was genuinely like he was off the scale again at points yesterday. Because as we said, we love Morrison because he gets his head down, runs at defenders. That is Alfie to a T. Now, will he always do what we hope he will do? No, he won't. But that's what's kind of making him a bit special. And the goal aside, he had a few other chances, but he just looked a menace. In fact, the full front 3, John, just looked an absolute menace again. Morrison had a great game. McKeever did everything, as we've just said, bar score. And as you say, we're quite rightly the biggest scorers in Scotland. And I don't see it changing.
Yeah, more goals to come then from the guys. I was just... every time you watch the highlights on Falkirk TV, it was just chance after chance after chance. The Lang header was a, great save from the goalkeeper, unbelievable save from the goalkeeper for that one. But then, so 1-0 going in at half time, you're thinking, oh my God, could it be one of those days like Lewis alluded to, where they just, as we saw last season, we just have a shut off or a mental block for a minute and we let them in. But again, we've done it so many times, just coming out that second half and then just a really quick goal, which helped so much, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, it really settled things down. We said at half-time when we were chatting, that an early goal would really help us. I don't even think we expected it to come so quickly. It was great. And, the second that second goal hits the net, suddenly you weren't really, with all due respect to Edinburgh, you weren't really concerned from that point on, other than, as we've said, maybe a wee lapse of concentration, a defensive error or a slip or something like that. But really, we looked comfortable yesterday. And I think the second half kind of maybe dropped in tempo a little bit because we were just, as you said yourself, looking at the highlights, it was pretty much one-way traffic. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to Edinburgh or any Edinburgh fans watching this, but it really, I just thought it was a professional performance. We controlled the game. It was one-way traffic. And with complete respect to them, I think they're genuinely lucky it wasn't 4 or 5.
Yeah. So, John and Lewis, sorry, the only other thing was the heat in the second half because it actually got hotter and hotter as the afternoon went on. And it was bad enough for us who were just waiting to get back to the pub. But for those who were actually running about in it and doing what they should be doing, it was pretty warm. So I'm not surprised the tempo dropped, but as we said, we got the job done early doors in the second half, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
and
I think,
Nessie
go on,
back
Dan.
on the Nessie back on the assist trail as well, with the ball through to Morrison for that first goal as well. Good to see that happening again. The link up obviously last season, or certainly at the start of last season, was excellent. So with Nesbitt coming back into that side, that link up will hopefully get us some more goals.
Mm.
Yeah.
Lewis, what were you going to say?
No, I just think that it's good to see the goals being spread around the team is a thing. We're not reliant on any one individual. It's not like, if you cast your mind back 10 years, we had two brilliant strikers back to back. You had Farid El Alawi one year, and then you had Lyle Taylor the next year. Now, those guys were phenomenal for Falkirk. But respectfully, if they suddenly got injured, you were kind of struggling at the moment. Whether it's Big Freddie, whether it's Aidan Nesbitt, as you say, coming in yesterday, Cal Morrison, Ross McKeever, Brad Spencer, Tom Lang, they've all chipped in so far. I think that's a great thing to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've still got to remember Jordan Allen's chomping at the bit to come off that bench and get a goal. I mean, he hit the post late on yesterday as well. And, you want to see, I would love to see at some point Jordan starting up front with Big Ross and seeing how that too, I was going about the 4-4-2, but I would love to see. I think that could work if it needs when that ever happened. Ola again chapping at the door again as well. Great goal against Alloa and unlucky with his volley yesterday as well.
Yeah, I think so. He maybe didn't have as much of an impact as we would have hoped yesterday. He was kind of lively in bits, but I think overall he did okay. Nothing negative to say about him at all, but it wasn't quite as impactful as he was the game before. But again, it's great options to have off the bench, because the only worry we have at the moment, as you alluded to at the start of this, John, was with Calvin Miller now out injured. We need to be thinking about bench options as well. You've got Gary Oliver and Jordan Allen who can play in the middle, but in terms of that three in behind the striker, we maybe need another one in.
Do you think so? Do you think that, we talked about at the start that there might be money there for a loan signing? Lewis, is that where you put your money?
Yeah, I think at the moment, because defensively, we're covered at centre half. We have five guys who can play at centre half.
Brad Mackay, just to clarify, Brad Mackay's still at the club, yeah? He didn't move on, yeah.
He's got a couple of injuries at the moment. He's got a kind of groin hip injury that they're trying to get to the bottom of. Of course, you've also got, Tom Lang, Cole Donaldson, and Big Call, I have to say, just to take a moment. He's taken a bit of stick at times, but the last couple of games, Cole Donaldson's been really, really good. And sometimes we don't give the more unglamorous roles the credit they deserve. So just a wee shout out to Big Call.
I think since you're right, Lewis, I think since Tam Lang's come in beside him, I think he's looked such a better defender. Because I mean, and I said it in last week's episode, that Tom Lang should not be playing at this level. Neither should Brad Spencer, or for that matter, Cal Morrison as well. They're excellent footballers, and he's just lifted Call's game, I think.
Yeah,
John, I also think the captain's armband being on his and I'm not saying that just because it's us, but in terms of, I think he's took the responsibility of wearing it massively on in the last few weeks. He looks like a proper leader in the park as well. I
think Brad Spencer right in front of him is helping things as well. He's not now having to, I know Stephen McGinn I had a little chat with Stephen about a week ago. I had a scan on Thursday, and he was saying to me that he felt bad because he was getting a bit of criticism from certain quarters. And, you get, what it's like online sometimes, people saying, is it one season too many? Is he getting too old now? All these things. And he said, Lewis, the truth is, since I came back for pre-season, I've not really been able to kick the ball with my right foot because his knee keeps locking up. And they think what it is he's got 2 or 3 little bits of loose cartilage kind of floating around in the knee. And of course, that's causing all this inflammation and stuff as well. So I think they're talking about a little tidy up to hopefully solve that. But of course, what I meant was, with all due respect to Stephen, and I think he was over the piece great last year. I think that start of this season in the early games, he maybe wasn't quite up to full speed, so to speak. And as a result of that, your centre halves, therefore, are under a little bit more pressure. And what we saw time and time again was Cole would have to come rushing out the defensive line to try and engage a midfielder bursting through. And that's not what you want. Now, all of a sudden, with Brad Spencer in there, sitting that little bit deeper, I think he's, as you said, John, he's dictating games at the moment. He's looking really, really good. And as a result of that, it means Big Call can just focus on his own game. I think it's been a win-win.
And let's not forget about Liam Perlow-Henderson in the middle of the park as well.
Well, Big Hendo, he's one of these guys who'll play anywhere. But he said to me he'd still like to play centre-half. But in terms of your question about is that where I put the money, well, you've now got 5 centre-halves, including Liam. And of course, you've got young Logan Sinclair coming through as well. With Leighton coming in, you have a couple of right backs, you have a couple of left backs. You've got Jordan, Gaz, and Ross McKeever, who can all play through the middle. So really, any spare cash for me has to be that trio in behind in the old 4-2-3-1. So, God forbid, but if Cal Morrison picked up a knock right now, who are you playing right wing? Because the only one you've really got is Scott Honeyman, who could step up. He's a good young player, but obviously doesn't have a lot of experience yet. Calvin Miller out on the opposite side, so we've got Nizzy and Big Freddie. You could potentially play Gary Oliver as a 10, or maybe Ola, but beyond that, you're kind of struggling in the wide area. So I think, if I had the choice, it would be someone like a Cal Morrison, Calvin Miller type player. I'd be looking to bring one of them in.
Be interesting to see. Presumably it'll be a young player from, like we did with Max last season. By the way, 2 goals for Max yesterday as well. Good to see him off the mark for St Johnstone. Wish we could have got him back in, but that doesn't look likely now. But I think it'll probably be a kind of younger. With Brendan Rodgers back up at Celtic, you think that John McGlynn, with his relationship that he has there, could hopefully make that work and might get a wee diamond from Celtic, maybe?
Well, you never know. And remember, we've got, in terms of a connection, John, Peter Houston does all the analysis at Parkhead.
Yeah.
So he's actively involved in the first team there. Until the end of last season, he scouted Celtic's opposition a week in advance for Ange Postecoglou, and then did the sessions on the Monday morning with him and then the squad. So, there's a couple of connections there. Never say never. The trouble we have, as we've spoken about before, is when you're down in League One rather than the Championship. Yeah. A team such as Morton, them over the water, or whoever else are a more attractive opportunity for them at this stage.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if in what happens with that loan money that we hopefully will have, and we'll see from the FSS going back into the playing budget. Just general thoughts on the game then, guys. I think we've said it all really, but good day out.
It was good, wasn't it, Lewis? It was, as we said earlier on, the Artisan was absolutely bursting at the seams, especially pre-game. All the young lads were in there, as well as some older ones like us as well. But and they were all sporting their ultras scarves.
I was going to say we've not pointed it out yet. But Ross, and you don't have a young team scarf as well, Lewis, do you?
I do. It's sitting over there.
Oh my God!
Listen, John, it's actually shocking that you've not backed the lads by buying one.
You're the minority here now.
Yeah, for goodness sake, the ultras, the young team. Jesus, you two, God Almighty.
We're old baldies now. We're officially skinheads, right?
Well, that is yourself. You're just holding on there, Ross Wayne. You're just holding on.
Listen, the guys are doing amazing again. You saw them, the pictures that Ian sent us on, for those that weren't there yesterday. You saw how much they, and it is tough at Edinburgh to create an atmosphere because there's no roof, or you're not all really together. But they did really well again yesterday. If people can support them, whether it's through buying merchandise or just supporting them in the stands at the games, is definitely going to make a difference. And I have a call. I think the 2 weeks' time with the home game, I think we should be trying to get a Kevin McAllister stand sellout, certainly, and try and get over 4,500 in the game, because we've been very close the last couple of home games. Let's try and get 4,500. Maybe even 5,000 in the stadium, which would be phenomenal again in League One.
Yeah, they've done a great job. And as you say, Ross, I think it's, talk of the old main stand, Sweetie Rustlers. There was a few folk not sure about the use of the drum. And I have to say, the guys have done brilliant in every way. And long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear from the manager then, Mr. John McGlynn.
John, another comfortable win, another great performance, another game where the other team didn't really lay a glove on you.
No, we're delighted with the effort of the players, the commitment of the players, the quality of the play. Right from the start of the game, we were on top. Created so many chances, put some great balls across the face of the goal. Even for the first minute, a great ball across, and Ross McIver was right in at the front post area. The other lad actually catching him on the face, trying to clear it. And again, not long after that, there was another one. We ended up hitting the post 3 times in the first half. So the post, you mentioned it last week actually, Adam, about the post. Well, we've hit it 3 times, today. Delighted, Alfie coming in from that left side on his right foot. Exactly what we're looking for in that position. Coming inside on your right foot, stronger foot, and whipping it in that far away corner. So delighted to get that goal on the back of a number of chances. And after that, again, number of chances. Goalkeepers made some really good saves. One in particular towards the end of the half from a header from Tom Lang, an amazing save. And then he's continued to do it in the second half. The goalkeeper has certainly had 3 worldies there. He's kept the score down. I think our play deserved us to score more goals. I was delighted at the start of the second half that Aidan Nesbitt played a great ball through for Callum Morrison. He's gone through and he's finished it off, so it was a perfect start to the second half. We then, lay siege on the Edinburgh goal, but the goalie's been making a great save for Brad. There was 2 or 3 great saves for Leon McCann, a brilliant save down low to his left. There was another one, and then they defended very well throughout the game. They put their body in the line, they blocked things, and that's what's kept the score down, because we deserve to win by a few more goals today, because I honestly feel that our players deserve that for the effort and the commitment and the actual play that we put in today. They deserve to win by more, but we take it and we move on.
There we go then. Nice and easy for John this week. Only just over 2 minutes on McGlynn Watch this week, so excellent stuff from John there. Ross has appeared to disappeared.
Yeah, I think it's because he's on 1996 dial-up, mate. He's struggling. He was sitting there meditating, eyes closed, no moving. Honestly, it was like a picture a moment ago. I think he's just dropped off, so hopefully he'll reappear in the next 60 seconds or so.
Well, there you go. That leaves it up to me then to go through what your reaction was like to the game yesterday. We put out, obviously, we ask every week, what did you make of the game yesterday? And we got reactions in from you guys. Let's kick off then with Pamela. And Pamela says, another great team performance, bit of a dip in the second half. Their goalie was man of the match. Somebody is going to get a real pasting, feel as though it's all coming together. I hope I only have to go back to Edinburgh one more time. Yes, I think we'll. Yeah, when's it? Is it the next game? I think it's winter time as well, though, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah, I think so. I need to double check the date, John, but it's. I think it is a winter game as well.
Oh my word! I'm definitely making the next time, because I do enjoy the day out at Edinburgh. That's the one thing you do enjoy about Edinburgh. Grant says dominant display with some luck in front of goal could have easily been 7 or 8. Even taking our foot off the gas in the second half, we still could have scored more. Great 3 points, top of the league. So we need to keep this momentum going. Oh, and the ground's a tip. There we go. And Ross is tempting fate, by the way, because I know we are top of the league. We're obviously on top of goal difference. Hamilton conceding their first 2 goals of the season there yesterday. But Ross has put and I will say this is Ross and not me. Ross has completely tempted fate by basically putting on our Twitter, quote me on this, we're staying there. So we'll quote Ross on that. So listen, that's what needs to happen. Absolutely. We talked about it earlier on. Lewis says, on the match itself, brilliant. Thought everybody played well. Not really any standout players, but thought Alfie was brilliant in the first half. We nomination for Falkirk Dafty. The lack of preparation pre-match for getting the supporters into the ground. Yes.
That's my nomination too.
I think this is going to be a very clear winner this week. Drew says first half is probably the most dominant half I've ever seen from Falkirk. First real test. Next game against Queens, but confident. Queens is an interesting one because they seem to have a terrible first half and then come out really well in the second half. But that's them yesterday getting beat down in Palmerston by Montrose 3-2. I was speaking to Marvin Bartley during the week, and he reckons it will be a 3-way race between us, them, and Hamilton. He's got a few issues, I think, at the club, but I'll certainly be asking him when I see him on Wednesday about the performance at the weekend.
I will think, I wouldn't rule, although they've had a very poor start, I think everybody thought Cove would be up there as well, with Cove and Accies being the two teams that came down. Marvin Bartley, to his credit, John, I think when he went there to Queens, he did have an impact. I know there was a young lad they had on Hibs who seemed to have make quite a difference to their midfield. So I was expecting them to be stronger this year. As Ross said earlier on, I think Kelty are going to be weaker now that the owner's left to go to Wraith. I know FC Edinburgh are weaker because they've had budget cuts. I was chatting to Mark Kerr and Alan Maybury earlier on this year, in the last time through, and they kind of explained that their loan budget had been absolutely slashed. And obviously that's now continued to this year.
They have a relationship with Hibs, though, didn't they? I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, so I'll say numbers, right? Okay, I won't say numbers, but I'll tell you what the conversation was. It was the last time we were through at Meadowbank, so it must have been, whether it was March, April, somebody can check the date. But end of last season, we went through, played at Meadowbank, and I bumped into the guys in the corridor in the main stand, or the only stand. And when I walked through, I said to them, look, if you don't mind me asking, I noticed that 4 players, I think, had left who'd been in on loan with the transfer window. And I said, look, was there some kind of falling out between FC Edinburgh and Hibs? Because 3 of the guys all returned to Hibs at the end of January or whenever it was. And basically they said, well, we had a loan budget of X amount, and for that they had 4 or 5 players in on loan. He says, and then the chairman basically and the board told them that their loan budget was going to be massively slashed to a tune of about 25% of what it was. So the reason 3 of those guys returned back to Hibs, and I'm sure they lost a 4th guy who was on loan as well, it was all just because of pennies. They simply didn't have the cash. There was no falling out. It was just financial.
Yeah, I think, like Ross was saying earlier on, they look as if they're going to struggle this year, Edinburgh, but we'll see how it goes. Jamie says, played really well without really having to get out of second gear. On our day, we would have scored 6 or 7. If it wasn't for the performance of their keeper. With us top now, gives the team something to fight for. Only downside was that place they call a stadium. Mm-hmm. Ryan says, dominant performance. Team excellent again. Should have been more, but for hitting the post multiple times. A couple of goal line clearances and a superb display from the Edinburgh City goalkeeper. Top of the league. Hard work starts now. Trying to stay there. And finally, Davey says, we are top of the league. And I said, we are top of the league. Fantastic. Right, okay, in Ross's absence then, we've got to go for our Falkirk Daft rated and our Falkirk Dafty. I think we all know what the Falkirk Dafty is going to be, Lewis.
Yep, it's whoever decided to open one turnstile for 800 fans.
Brilliant. Nice, easy nomination, that one. Who's your Falkirk Daft rated player, though, Lewis?
Best player? Oh, it's difficult. Do you know what? I think I'll go with what I said earlier on. I think although the goal scorers always get the credit, I think Big Call the last few games has been really, really good. And I'm pleased for him. I'm actually pleased to see him playing so well and hopefully getting a wee bit of credit.
Yeah, Big Call it is then. First Falkirk Daft rated nomination of the year, and we'll take that. I wasn't at the game, so I'm all into that. I love Big Call, you know that. Dreams of holding his hand and coming out as mascot one day will happen. And onwards now, so top of the league, and it's onwards to Ayr United in this cup. Are we bothered about the cup?
Not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's always nice.
We're going for 5.
Well, exactly. We are the record holders. We've had 4 successes before. It's always nice to win it. Of course it is. But I think the way we all feel as Falkirk fans this year, League Cup, Scottish Cup, Challenge Cup, it's great to be involved, and especially, of course, financially. We absolutely need every penny we can get. But I think it's all about the league this year. If we do anything in the cups, I'm viewing that as a bonus, John. We're top of the league at the moment. I think the acid test will be when we play Queens and Accies and so on. But at the moment, just taking the positives, enjoying it, and more so focused on the league than the Challenge Cup.
Ayr are struggling a wee bit at the moment, beaten again there at the weekend by Arbroath, beaten 3-0 at home by Dundee United a couple of weeks ago. It would have been better to have it would have been nice to have a nice home draw for this one at the stadium, a nice wee League Two side up the road, to get through that next round. But it's by the sounds of it looks like John McGunn's going to ring the changes on Tuesday, Lewis.
Yeah, that's certainly what he was hinting at. And I think you'll see potentially guys like Scott Honeyman, who we mentioned earlier on, coming in. I think you might see Jordan Allen, Gary Oliver, guys like that. We obviously still have a few guys out. So Sean Mackey's still injured. Stephen McGinn's still injured. Brad Mackay's still injured. So there can't be too much rotation just because we don't have bodies, John. The only other one would be guys like Ola and some of the other guys coming through the dev team, like Logan Sinclair and Walker and McGinley and these boys.
Yeah, I mean, Ayr have got a decent side when you look at them on paper. They brought in some experience there during the summer. Aidan McGeady, Jamie Murphy, both brought in. George Stanger, who I thought was actually a really good centre half at Alloa last season. Yeah. He was brought in. Robbie, we know, brought in at goalkeeper and seems to be doing a decent job there as well. Logan Chalmers, who's decent. They've got some good players on the books there. They said a goodbye to a lot of players, right enough. But on paper, they've got a decent side. But like I say, they don't seem to be going. I wonder if they'll do very similar to us and just say, do you know what, we'll put out a weekend side as well.
I'm not so sure Billy will, to be honest, because of the fact, as you say, they've had a slow start. I think if I was an Ayr fan right now and in their camp, I'd be looking at this saying, we've had a bit of a sort of mixed start so far. Let's put the full strength team out. Let's get a win under our belt. Let's build a wee bit of confidence against, from their point of view, a lower league team. So I don't think they'll drop too many. And the one, of course, I didn't mention a moment ago is it's a good chance to give Nicky some minutes now. He's back from injury as well.
That's true. That I think that will definitely be a change just to get some minutes into Nicky. Like you say, I saw Sam's done an incredible job. He's not had much to do, but there was that amazing double save against Stirling Albion that he had, and he has had the Alloa game, the Partick Thistle game. Looking back at a couple of clangers he's had, but. I think the gloves are his, so it's a good chance for Nicky to get on and prove himself as well. So, Ayr, are you going to head down, Lewis?
Yeah, I'm going to go down. I don't know if I'm going to go on the bus yet or drive. Haven't decided, but I'll definitely be there one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can swap my shifts around on to working earlier on Tuesday so I can try and get down straight from work. But I will wait and see. Then it is Queen of the South. Like you say, this is really, I guess, the first acid test. But we had the Cove experience, which we should have won that game. But Queen of the South at home, like I say, they are conceding a lot of goals. And with us scoring like we are, it should be a really open game because I think they've conceded something ridiculous so far. That they just goals galore are flying in. We've had beaten off Alloa 4-3. They're beaten at the weekend there 3-2 by Montrose. So they seem to be conceding a lot of goals, and obviously they don't have their talisman Rudy Payton there anymore.
Yeah, he'll be a big miss. I mean, I'm not surprised we asked the question about him, back in January and back in the summer because he's a great player. He really is. But of course, we were one of about 7 teams who were asking questions about him. He'll be a big miss for them, and he'll be hard to replace. It wasn't just his goals, John. For me, he was excellent with his back to goal. His hold up play and his link play, bringing other guys into play higher up the pitch, and just letting that whole Queen of the South team advance further down the field in unison. He was great for that. So it's always going to be a kind of hard act to follow. And like you say, at the end of the day, we need to look at it as we're top of the league. We're in good form. We know Queens are going to be one of the tougher teams. We know Accies are going to be one of the tougher teams. We just need to have a go at them. One game at a time, the old cliche, but it's all positive so far. Let's just hope it continues.
Yeah, Marvin's in doing Super Scoreboard this weekend, the show that I work on in Clyde 1, so I'll need to chin him. I said, did you see the game against Alloa? What did you make of Falkirk? Because they were obviously up at Cove that day and coming back, and the coach, he said, yeah, I think these are looking good.
Will you see him on Thursday or Friday?
I'll see him on Wednesday.
Cool. Just lock the door and leave him in.
Well, I did chin him. I said, "Oh, the Hibs job's going, Marvin. You're at 25-1. Should I put £5 on it?" I just kind of laughed it off. I said, "You don't mind going to Hibs, so you can just go as assistant. Just go up to as assistant, because I think he's done a really decent job at Queen's actually, and he's a good big lad, Marvin, as well. So, but I will be shouting abuse from the sidelines at him. When we come up against them in a couple of weeks' time. How do you see both games going then, Lewis? First of all, Ayr.
Let's be honest, we're going to be underdogs against Ayr, but as you've said, they're kind of in mixed form at the moment, and because we are scoring goals, I think if we get the first goal, there's no reason we can't cause an upset. I totally appreciate we are underdogs, and I think if Ayr get the first goal, the game will go their way. But, be confident, be on the front foot, first 20, 30 minutes, try and stick one in the net. And if we can do that, it's game on. Who knows?
Yeah, what about the Queen of the South game?
Queens, because it's at our place, I think we can edge it. Obviously, there have been a few changes at Queens over the summer, so we're not as familiar with their squad in terms of we've not seen them play this year. But I think Rudy will be a big miss. And I think, Aki's aside, because we haven't seen them in the flesh yet, I think we can be any team at our place. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mentality that this year of all years we have to have, John. We need out this division this year. We can't wait and leave it to luck of the playoffs. We need to go and win the league. The target before the season started, we said we need to be looking for 7 wins out the first 9. 1 draw, 1 defeat. At the moment, we're on track for that. And that is just what we need to keep aiming for. Can we beat Queens? Yes, we can. Of course, we'll need to work for it. They'll make life difficult for us. But as you say, unless they tighten up at the back, I think our guys will be able to find a way through.
Yeah, well, thanks very much to our resident stato, Donald Johnson, who's been back in touch with some more stats. We won both home games last season, of course, 5-2 and 3-1. The last 6 home games against Queens, we've been 5 wins and only 1 loss. Thank you very much to our resident stato, Donald Johnson, for that one. I think high-scoring game against Queens. I think they're really struggling in defence from what I can gather. So I'm guessing I'm going to go for a wee cheeky 3-1 in the Queens game.
Yeah, I'd take that. Aye.
We'll take that and get up the road with that. Fingers crossed. We've actually not got a Falkirk Daft next week because we just thought, well, are we being lazy? We're just saying it's the cup game, so we'll be back after the Queen's game. But thank you very much for listening and watching, and thank you very much, Lewis, for stepping into Ross's shoes, because he's just dropped off and he's not getting back on because
you know what, John, at his age he needs a wee nap now and again, mate. Just didn't hold
well, that's it. Exactly. Remember, you can subscribe, rate, review the pod on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Get us a follow on Twitter, like we were talking about earlier on. We've got that competition to win those prints up on the go. Facebook, Instagram, Falkirk Daft. You'll see us on YouTube as well. If you subscribe there, you can check us out. Merch, of course, you can get. We've got that at merch.falkirkdaft.co.uk. You can spruce yourself up for the games against Queen of the South and Ayr, so head to there. Thanks again to Peter and the guys at Haldane Construction. Check them out, haldaneconstruction.co.uk. They're on Insta, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that jazz. And we'll see Peter hopefully at the games as well. And check out their sign at the side of the stand now. They've got that big fancy sign at the side of the North stand, or the Legends stand as we're calling it now. So check that out. Get a selfie with a picture of Haldane Construction. Go for it. You can get in touch with us. John at falkirkdaft.co.uk, Ross at falkirkdaft.co.uk, and I think that's all the housekeeping taken care of, Lewis. Oh no, you're going to have to do so. Onwards to the next one. It's Ayr in the Cup, then Queen of the South at the stadium in a couple of weeks' time. And in Ross's absence, you're going to have to do the catchphrase, Lewis.
Well, expect the unexpected, and thanks for your time.
Never lose it.
Never had it, to be fair, mate.
This is Falkirk Daft
with Haldane Construction Services.